Welcome back to OKRs Fast. I'm Richard Russell. This is the introduction to OKRs. We're talking about objectives, and this is getting to some of the meat about OKRs and help you really understand what they are. We've been through a bit about why we're doing them, what the benefits are, what they are as an introduction, how to use them and what to do. And I want you to keep that how to use them clear in your mind when we're talking about what we're writing as an objective, because that really makes a difference. And we talked about OKR cycles and how that just generally fits together. Objectives, let's get stuck into this. An objective is all about setting direction and inspiring action. You want to make it matter. So the objective should be something that is memorable, motivating, inspiring. It should come up to naturally in conversation at work. I have seen objectives that were things like optimize the target market and maximize return on investment through strategic innovation and tactical synergies. And they sound like consultants wrote them, but they don't mean anything. And sometimes they can technically mean something, and I have seen that some that are very similar to that do kind of mean something, but they don't carry meaning to people, and they're not the kinds of things that really communicate. So when you're thinking about your objective, think much more about what you're trying to communicate to people, right? Than some sort of technical definition that covers everything. If you're getting a technical sort of like, this covers all of our bases and we've got all of our keywords and buzzwords in there, it's probably not working. What you want is something that's going to stick in people's minds. If you make it rude or funny or have an in-joke or some sort of pop culture reference or internal reference that makes a difference, it's fine. There's no rule that means this has to be boring. In fact, try and make it interesting. Try and make it something that matters to your organization. And we'll talk about a bit about how to do that. But first, I want to show you some examples. These are examples of objectives. One of the funny things about objective examples is that they're good for if they're good, they're only good for their organization, right? So these are all different kinds of organizations. So here's some examples that I think are not too bad, right? We will live stream the most important global events of 2022. And that's if you're a live streaming company, right? Obviously, it's not relevant if you're a grocer, right? But if that's what you're doing, that might be a very important thing that you want to get done, right? That may matter to you, and it matters partially because it matters to customers, right? We might want to become a sales machine. Now that's the kind of thing that feels not very well defined, but everyone kind of knows what it means, and you can talk about that in your organization about let's become a sales machine, and then the key results really define exactly what you mean by that, right? But becoming a sales machine is the kind of term that gets repeated around your organization about why we're doing this. Revive our winning culture. This is something that came from one of my clients. I think this is kind of cool because it tells us what we're trying to do. We had a winning culture. We need to revive it, right? And people can understand what that is and why we're doing it. Expand our market to France. A little bit dull, perhaps, although France is wonderful and exciting. But as a statement, it's a little dull, but it does actually capture what we want to do as a strategy. Help more people use public transport in more cities. This was one that is pretty much what we had when I was at Google working on maps, public transport on Google Maps. And this defined our mission. It really connects what we're doing with our customers and what we're really trying to see done. And that was the definition of success. So these are some examples. But I want to talk about what makes a good objective. To me, an objective is something, as I said, it sets ambition, sets direction and inspires action, but it's really about customers' vision and ambition. So customers, whether they're your end customers, whether they're your first line customers, if you're selling to a business that has customers, you might be talking about those end customers. You might be talking about the business. You might be talking about the people who pay you money. You might be talking about the users, right? There might be different people. So you think about the different stakeholders you have. Customers, if you have an OKR for your internal team, for a team as opposed to a company, customers could be your internal stakeholders, right? So whoever the customers are, your mission as a team, your people, your raison d'etre, your reason for being is for customers. And so you want to try to focus your objectives around things that matter to customers. The second thing you want to try and do is link your objective to the vision. Because ideally you've communicated the vision, you have a vision, and it's something that gets people excited and is why they're there, right? And so ideally your vision should be about your customers, but your objective should be about linking both of these things together. But if for some reason you can't do one, do the other, right? Now, the third thing that I like to talk about is ambition. This is to reach for the moon. Now, it's funny, the visual here is kind of strange with the vision being a rocket in space with stars and the moon not being closer, or is it further, or what is it? But I mean, the point here is that we're reaching for the moon. And when you have an objective, if you have an objective that's kind of limp, like weak, and it's a bit sort of unambitious, it's not going to get anyone going. But if it's an ambition thing, like you're not going to say, let's make ourselves a little bit better at sales. It's not. It doesn't get me going. It doesn't excite me. But let's become a sales machine. It's like, okay, that's something ambitious, right? So that's something that can get people going. And this is, as I said, it's all about setting direction. Like this is what we're trying to achieve, and inspiring action. So you're trying to get people to think about it, get people to do things, right? Now, the way you can write these, normally these objectives are written in a certain way. We will verb, right? So there's a verb in the objective. What's most commonly missing from objectives that I see people writing is a verb. It's like the objective is just a noun phrase. Use the verb, use the doing word. Start with the doing word because it creates action, right? The second thing is this outcome. We're going to launch this product. We're going to become a sales machine. Whatever it is, the verb should be an action, and the outcome should be the outcome that's inspiring and that gets people going. It should be an outcome that's about customers and vision and ambition, right? And that's just very simple form of an objective. Now, in some cases, you may want to add things like to realize this benefit, right? Or for these customers, or by this date. Now, I recommend not putting all of this in there because then it becomes like an essay, and you want to have it concise and succinct. But if it's important to you to communicate, this is the outcome we're doing for this benefit, put that in there. Like have that so it's clear, right? Or for these customers, we want this outcome for those customers, or we want to launch the new UI by this date, by the earnings call, or whatever it is, right? Put that in there if that's really important, because that might be part of the thing that inspires the action, right? And now the other thing to think about with this, when you've written your objective, is to think about why now. Now, this is not necessarily something you put into the objective, but it's something that's really important to communicate at the same time as you communicate this objective. Why are we doing this now? Like, why now? Why not next quarter? Why not last quarter, right? And at least think this through. Because whenever this topic comes up, you want to have people really understand, why are we doing this one now? Why is this important now? Because that'll help them to do things. Now, when you take your objectives, you might have one objective for a quarter. If you're doing one objective and key results, that's fantastic because it keeps people focused. You might have multiple. You might have 2 or 3 or 4, maybe 5, ideally not more than 5. But these objectives, when you read the objectives themselves, not the key results, just the objectives, that should communicate your strategy for this quarter, right? That's the general idea here. So you communicate your strategy with slides and all sorts of things, whatever you're doing. But these objectives, because this will be repeated throughout the quarter, this has come up in your communications. It'll be on the posters, on the emails. It'll be on the agendas of meetings. It'll be in the launch newsletters. It'll be in discussions week by week in those weekly execution meetings. You want that strategy, those objectives, to really link to your strategy. So when you read these objectives, you should be seeing, that's our strategy. I recognize these. That's what we need to do this quarter. These are the battles we need to win this quarter. Because this is what you want people to be talking about, right? If it's your strategy, you want people to know about it and talk about it. So you need all these things to link together and reinforce each other so that we're not sort of having lots of different directions. We've got one clear direction, what we're doing. This is our objectives, which implements our strategy. Let's talk about them and let's get things done. So that's objectives. Next session is going to be about key results, and then we'll bring it all together. So see you shortly. If you found this presentation interesting and you'd like to see more, there is more. I have on my website all of the video trainings in one easy to access form. Under the video training, you can go to my website. It looks a bit like this, richardrussell.co/OKRs. You'll also find with the video training, when you sign up for that, there's access to PDF guides on how to use this, like cheat sheets almost. We go through a full OKR cycle, a walkthrough of what you need to do when, including some tips on how to set OKRs. There's an email newsletter which will keep you up to date with all the latest content, and including some interviews that I'll be doing with people. And you'll get access to discounted live workshops that will come through the email mailing list. So go to my website and you can get that for free, whoever you are. Now, if you're wanting a bit more, I also do OKR Coaching and Workshops. So I do these for organizations like whole companies or divisions or large teams. For teams and for individual leaders. But we can do this whether you're already using OKRs or whether you want to start using OKRs, whether the rest of your organization is using OKRs and you want to get started, or whether you're just fresh and you'd like to learn more. The things that I do custom training customized for the organization. I do OKR setting workshops where we set OKRs with you and your team. We do OKR retrospectives, which are super useful for anyone who's already using OKRs and wants to find ways to make them better. And I do direct coaching. I do coaching of leaders. Fundamentally, to me, OKRs are really about leadership, and so that's really fits really well together. So if you're one of these and you'd like to talk about having some work done in your organization, your team, or as an individual leader, please get in contact, richardrussell.co/OKRs. Now, if you're a larger organization and you'd like to do a full OKR implementation, I do OKRs implementation and consulting. I use a method that I call FAST, the OKR FAST. The idea is that there's minimal theory. So we don't have a lot more theory than what we've already had here, but we just do have fun, engaging, relevant workshops that are hands-on, all about your business. It's not about some case study or anything like that. It's about your business. And if necessary, we can set up a custom change program with reusable videos so that we're training on the way that OKRs work in your organization, not some sort of generic way of doing things. We can do train the trainers. Whatever we need to do, we'll do it focused on your goals, because I take the OKR engagements that I do very much like what I recommend my clients do, is focus on the outcome you're trying to get and then figure out what to do. So please get in contact with me, richardrussell.co/OKRs. You'll find me on LinkedIn as well. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks very much.